For the very first time, Mark Zuckerberg is on trial, facing a jury. Right now, in a Los Angeles courtroom, the CEO of Meta is defending his company against some pretty explosive claims that platforms like Instagram weren't just made to be popular, but that they were deliberately engineered to get kids addicted. So let's break down exactly what's at stake in this landmark showdown.
And this really gets to the human heart of the entire conflict. That's a quote from Lori Shaw. She's a mother who lost her 18-year-old daughter, and she was standing right outside the courthouse. You know, her question just cuts through all the legal jargon and gets right to the core of what this is all about. So make no mistake, this isn't just any trial. It is a huge, landmark case. And there are literally thousands of similar lawsuits just waiting in the wings, watching to see what happens. Meta is in the hot seat, and while Google's YouTube is also a defendant, all eyes are really on Zuckerberg as he takes the stand.
Okay, so who are the key players here? The lead plaintiff is known only as KGM, and she reportedly started using Instagram when she was just 9 years old. On the other side, you've got Meta, with Mark Zuckerberg as the star witness. And it's also worth pointing out that TikTok and Snapchat, they were originally part of this, but they decided to settle before the trial even got started. So how are the plaintiffs building their case? Well, in a really fascinating twist, they're basically using Meta's own words against them. The most powerful evidence is coming directly from inside the company, from their own internal emails, their own research, and their presentations. Just take a look at this. This is from an email sent by one of Meta's top execs directly to Zuckerberg. In it, he warns that the company's age limits are, and I'm quoting here, unenforced. He goes on to say this makes it difficult to claim we're doing all we can. I mean, that's a pretty powerful statement coming straight from the inside. The plaintiffs also brought this up in court. It's research that was actually done for Instagram, and it had this really critical finding. It said that teen users felt hooked and even described how they used the app with what the report itself called an addicts narrative. And this is where it gets really interesting, because the lawyers started to lay out a pattern. They used Meta's own documents to argue the company was laser-focused on young users. You see a presentation celebrating the retention of tweens, then an email from Zuckerberg himself trying to reverse a dip in teen usage, and then another top exec just saying it flat out. Teens were Mark's top priority. So what about all those safety tools Meta says it offers? Well, this number is just stunning. A lawyer pointed to an internal document showing that only 1.1% of teen users had actually turned on the daily use limit feature. Let that sink in. Just over 1%. Okay, so that is a really powerful case from the plaintiffs, and it's built almost entirely from Meta's own internal files. So how on earth are Zuckerberg and his legal team responding to all of this? Well, on the stand, Zuckerberg pushed back, and he pushed back hard. When he was confronted with those documents about targeting teens, he accused the lawyer of mischaracterizing what was being said. And that research that found an addict's narrative, his response was that the very same report also mentioned positive things about using Instagram. So here's the core of Meta's defense. They say, look, our official policy bars anyone under 13. They claim they've gotten much better over time at finding underage users. And they point to safety tools they released way back in 2018. They also make a business argument, saying teens make up less than 1% of their ad money, and that old goals like increasing time spent on the app just aren't how they operate anymore. And this quote pretty much sums up Zuckerberg's entire argument. He's framing heavy usage not as addiction, but as a sign of value. You know, people use it a lot because they like it, because it's useful to them. Of course, the plaintiff's lawyer immediately shot back that people addicted to something also tend to increase their use. But you know, beyond all the corporate arguments and the back and forth in the courtroom, this trial is really about the human stories. So let's just take a moment and focus on the people at the absolute center of this. This is the name at the heart of one family's fight, Annalise Schott. She was 18 years old. Annalise's mother is Lori Schott, the woman whose powerful words we heard at the very beginning of all this. And she was not alone at the courthouse. She was there with a group of other parents who've also lost children, all of them showing up to support the plaintiffs and to demand real change. And this is exactly why the stakes are so incredibly high. This single trial happening in LA is actually part of a much larger global reckoning with social media's impact on young people. Inside the US, the pressure is just immense. As we said, thousands of families are watching this case,
But on top of that, 29 state attorneys general are suing Meta in a totally separate case, and they're demanding immediate changes, like forcing the company to delete every single known account belonging to a user under 13.
And this pressure isn't just coming from the US. This timeline shows a really clear international trend. Australia is already putting a ban in place for users under 16. And you have major European countries, the UK, France, Spain, all of them are looking at doing something similar. The world is watching. So, at the end of the day, as this trial plays out and as governments around the globe start to take action, it all boils down to one fundamental question. As this digital world keeps evolving, who is ultimately responsible for protecting the youngest people using it? Is it the companies, the parents, the governments? That's the question this trial and all the ones sure to follow are trying to answer.